Why does life feel so empty? Have you ever had a moment where you stopped and thought, is this really all there is? Oh sure, on the surface, everything seems fine. Your life might even look successful on the outside. But deep down, something still feels empty. Or maybe for you it is exactly the opposite. Things have not gone well and life feels like it's completely falling apart. And you wonder if happiness or meaning exists at all. The strange thing is, people often feel this emptiness whether they succeed or fail. If you have wrestled with those emotions, you are in good company. It is a very common thing to feel emptiness in life. In fact, thousands of years ago, the Bible described this feeling perfectly. Now, that may not always be true whenever we are young. Youth is a natural time of optimism as you look forward to the future and think about all the things that you will achieve. But what happens when you achieve them? Or what happens when you're not able to achieve all of the things you had hoped to achieve? Feelings of emptiness are very common in both of those circumstances, and many of us wrestle with how to deal with these unwanted emotions. You may be surprised to find out that there is a whole book of the Bible that is dedicated to this very subject. The book is called Ecclesiastes, and tradition tells us that King Solomon wrote the book. Very few people have had the kind of success and status that King Solomon had, and yet, despite all of his wisdom, wealth, and worldly success, he found that he still experienced feelings of emptiness and meaninglessness. The book of Ecclesiastes begins in the following way. Meaningless, meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? The rest of the book is an answer to that question, and the answer is quite surprising to many of us. In the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon pursues 4 things that he hopes will give him meaning. Some people think the answer is education. If I can just become successful enough, informed enough, respected enough, then I'll feel fulfilled. Solomon tried that too. He pursued wisdom, wealth, work, and pleasure. All of these things have their own benefits. Most of us would find them to be excellent things. But having excelled in all of them, Solomon still finds there is a sense of emptiness in his life. For example, when it comes to wisdom, what is the purpose of gaining a great deal of knowledge? Solomon says that with much wisdom comes much sorrow, and the more knowledge, the more grief. Solomon finds a sense of futility in wisdom. The same is true with work. We labor hard to find the job that we want, which will give us a good income and a sense of satisfaction, and yet one can work their whole life building up a good product and saving up their money, and one day they will have to turn it over to someone else who may squander what they have worked so hard to build. Solomon says, "They will have control over all the fruit of my toil, into which I have poured my effort and skill under the sun." This too, he says, is meaningless. How about pleasure? In Ecclesiastes chapter 2, Solomon says, "Come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good." He goes on to speak about how he explored laughter and wine. He undertook great building projects and gained a great deal of wealth. He even explored sexual pleasure. Solomon says, "I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused no pleasure." Yet, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Are you able to sympathize with Solomon's conclusions? I wish I could tell you there is a simple way to get rid of this feeling, but the truth is, it is there for a reason, and it has a purpose. We are currently living in an environment that was not made to be our permanent home. We are living in a time and a place that has been corrupted by the effects of sin. Because that is true, complete fulfillment is not possible in this life. Thus, we experience things like loneliness, grief, disappointment, exhaustion, unmet expectations, and the list goes on. However, if a person is to frame this in their mind in the right way, you will see that there are a couple of good purposes for this feeling of emptiness. First, it reminds us that things are not yet as they are supposed to be. Our hearts are not capable of settling into this world as it is because something has gone very wrong. And until that is set right, our hearts are going to be somewhat restless. But secondly, this emptiness makes us long for a better reality. And that longing helps us not to cling too tightly to this world as it is. Jesus said, if we were to gain the whole world and forfeit our soul, what benefit would that be to us? But if we let our feelings of emptiness drive us to God in hope for a better world, we will fix our eyes on heaven and the good things that are yet to come for us. Even though Ecclesiastes focuses on the feeling of emptiness and meaninglessness, it is not all doom and gloom. So before you get discouraged, let's look at the instruction given for how to live in the midst of this. Solomon comes to two conclusions. In Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13, he tells us to fear God and keep His commandments, knowing that at the end of life, God will bring us into judgment for the things we have done. But secondly, in chapter 3 and verse 22, he says there is nothing better for a person to do than to enjoy the life and the work that God has given them in their few days under the sun. In short, we are to fear God and enjoy the precious moments He's given us. Maybe the emptiness you feel is not proof that life is hopeless. Maybe it's evidence that you were made for something more than this world can offer. Ecclesiastes reminds us that no amount of success, pleasure, achievement, or wealth can fully satisfy the human soul. But God can. And when we stop expecting this broken world to give us ultimate fulfillment, we can begin to find peace, purpose, and hope in the one who can. If you know someone else struggling with life, be sure to share this video with them and subscribe to ensure you don't miss out on any similar content. I'm Curtis Baker for Know Your Bible. To learn more about the Bible or to get your questions answered, visit us at knowyourbible.com.